Alright, what's going on, guys? Let's try back again and bring another video. So this time we're doing a video talking about The Walking Dead, the TV show, versus The Walking Dead, the comic book. So at this point, we are in Season 2 of the TV show. We've got 3 episodes down and a bunch more to go. So a lot will change, about this video, doing it at this stage because we haven't really seen 2 full seasons yet, and we're so far in the comic book. I mean, right now the comic book, we've got it like 80 or 90 issues, 90 issues actually at this point. So much further ahead in the story than we are in the TV show. There's almost no characters left in the comic book that there are in the TV show. Like the character roster is, almost completely depleted or very close to it. There's only a few characters still around from the TV show that are still in the comic. So what this is going to do is this is going to compare pretty much so far what we've seen of the TV show to so far what we've seen of the Walking Dead comic book. So some key differences between the two. The stories aren't exactly the same. The way they've changed them, there are some major changes. Shane, for example, is still alive in the TV show, whereas in the comic book he was kind of killed almost right away. In the first trade paperback, he was there, and then he died, basically. So it was very quick, maybe too quick, actually, if you think about it. I think I like the version of the TV show better, where they let Shane, live and become a more developed character. At least for now, he's still alive and he's still, doing his thing way further than he was in the comic book, and I like that. Much more character development there, and the Shane in the TV show is just much more interesting character than he was in the comic book. I mean, in the comic book, he was just very one-dimensional. He was, kind of a prick. He was very stubborn. He didn't want to hear anybody else's opinions about what they wanted to do. Rick wanted to move the group, and he didn't even want to hear it. And he's trying to tell, he's basically an asshole. He's trying to tell Rick to use his head, and you know what I mean? And he just can't see other people's points of view. So I think that's a humongous difference between the shows when you consider that Shane is an A-list character. In the TV show too, they give us some more backstory on Shane. Like, for example, in the 3rd episode of the 2nd season, you've got Rick is telling a story to Lori about Shane in like elementary school stealing the principal's car. So this helps you kind of bring it back to say, like, not only were these guys partners and best friends, but they're like lifelong friends. They went to like elementary school together. These guys have been, friends their whole lives pretty much. So whatever happens with that, wherever that goes, I like that version better than in the comic book, where it's just like he's, very one-dimensional, isn't drawn out too much. You don't really get to see too much of Shane's side. It just all goes down, and then Carl shoots him, basically. Furthermore, so that character, he's the most different from the way he was in the comic book. A lot of the other characters are much the same. Glenn, there are really no differences between the Glenn in the TV show and the comic book. I mean, Stephen Yeun actually looks exactly like Glenn from the comic book, like exactly. In addition to him, you've got Dale, who's basically exactly the same. Andrea, who's very similar. Rick, who is... I want to say that Rick is very similar too, if not exact. I haven't really noticed too many differences, or I haven't really noticed anything in the TV show that makes me think like this is a different Rick. He's very similar to the way he was in the comic book, so there's really no differences there. The character of Lori is basically the same. She's kind of an irrational bitch most of the time, and she's an easy character to hate because she's just bitching and moaning all the damn time. That's just the type of character that she is. Carl is pretty much the same, except we haven't seen Carl in the TV show start, firing off rounds and stuff yet. But so maybe we'll see that come up very shortly. So that's pretty much it for the characters. And in addition to that, actually, one more thing I wanted to say is that we've got a lot of new characters in the TV show that we didn't have in the comic book that I think are interesting. Daryl Dixon, I think, is an amazing character. I think that Merle is like a good bad guy, set up for a bad guy. Who else we got? We got I can't remember the black guy's T-Dog. Is it T-Dog? No, it's not T-Dog. I forget the black guy's name. I think him as a character, he's all right, I guess. I mean, he hasn't really done too much that's influential to the actual story and the main characters. I mean, he's just kind of there. Sophia, of course, is missing at this point, but I assume that she'll be found, and it'll be similar to how it was in in the comic book, and she'll be around for a long time, because she's actually one character that is still around in the comic book. although mentally she's pretty messed up at this point. She's still around. Um, yeah, so that's it about pretty much about the characters. Let's go on to some of the other aspects about the TV show versus the comic book that kind of are important or noteworthy. Of course, when you're reading a comic book, you can't have the same kind of backstory, and you can't have as much dialogue and things like that as you can in a TV show. Although a comic book does have a ton of dialogue for character development and things like that, the TV show has even more. TV show has even more of the backstory, showing more about what it was like for Shane and Rick and how all this everything went down. Just way more backstory and dialogue that adds to the overall story that we didn't get in the comic book, which is nice to have because it gives us more information about the characters. It gives us more of a feel of what they're experiencing and what's going on with them. So that's another positive, I think, of the TV show. And I forgot to say about the characters, which one I prefer. I actually prefer the TV show characters more than the comic book. Because if you look at Shane, I mean, Shane in the TV show is so much more likable than he was in the comic book. In the comic book, he's just like, he's not a very good character, really. But in the TV show, he's fantastic. And that pretty much goes to stand for everybody, pretty much, and the addition of the new characters. So in terms of characters, I got to go with the TV show. In terms of action sequences, I think it's always nicer to see something in video than it is to look at it in pictures in a book, a graphic novel, graphics of it. Even though it's like a storyboard, and you can kind of fill in the details in between. Some of the zombie kills and stuff in the TV show they're just so much cooler to look at than they would be in the comic book. Even though they can be cool in the comic book, nothing against Charlie Adlard and Tony Moore, but it's just it's just the way it is. TV, it's cooler to watch the action. It's better to see it that way. In addition to that, I like the way that they're going a different direction with the TV show, so that it's surprising to us. For example, Otis dying in the third episode of the second season. In the comic book, I mean, he was around for a long time, even though he didn't even do much. Like, he didn't really do anything. He was around for a while. And they killed him off almost instantaneously. Of course, in addition to that, we get the sound in the TV show. We get some cool theme songs, and things to set the mood. And I think that the actors overall in the TV show do a really good job. They don't feel phony. They don't feel fake at any point in time. The zombies all look fantastic. They might not look quite as good as they do in the comic book, because if you think about it, it's harder to make zombies in real life. A lot of them look too lifelike. There aren't many like Bicycle Girl, who's really like drawn out. I like to see in the TV show more zombies that are really like drawn out, like they've been malnourished for a long time. Most of the zombies we see look like they're a little malnourished, but not that bad, just a little bit. Let's see, what else is there? So pretty much the way I look at it is, so far to me anyway, from what I've seen, if I have to compare the first season and a half and second, half of the second season or a few episodes of the second season to the comic book, I have to go with the TV show. I mean, I look forward to the TV show like crazy, even though the comic book is so much further ahead, and I think that in the comic book, the Governor storyline with Woodbury and the prison is one of the best story arcs in any comic book ever. And like, for example, the owner of my comic book shop, local comic book shop here in town, I was talking to him kind of about The Walking Dead, and he said it's his favorite comic book ever. I mean, this is a guy that dedicated his life to comic books. He owns his own shop. It's just his. You know what I mean? He's read pretty much everything you can imagine as far as comic books go. And he said it's his favorite ever. It's better than anything else. So for the TV show to be able to go to that, and also, for me to even be making this video about which one's better, which one's the better telling of the story, I think shows how good the TV show really is. This is probably my favorite TV show ever. And I think it's even, going to get even better from here on out. Hopefully we see it go into the third or fourth, fifth season. Hopefully the financial issues that they've been experiencing at AMC and, not giving them enough money doesn't hurt the show. Because, I mean, so far this show has just been off the charts. And I gotta say, man, I am really looking forward to the future of the show. And if I have to compare the first two graphic novels to the TV show, I gotta say the TV show smashes them. I like the TV show more than the comic book. I think that I'm more excited to see what's going to happen next in the TV show than I am to read the newest issues of the comic book. Just because there's so much more happens in each episode of the TV show than it did than it does in the comic, and that's nothing to take against the comic book. It's just how awesome the TV show is. So I think that's what I have to say pretty much in conclusion. The TV show, you know, the characters are better. They're you know, just they're overall just better. Um, Obviously, you have sound, you have video with the action, which is better. You have some awesome writing too. The writing hasn't suffered at all. Like I like the writing in the TV show just as much as the comic book. It's amazing too. You know, the slow periods don't bother me too much. Um, what else is there really? I mean, that's pretty much it. You know, that's all there is to it. The suspense, the plot, everything. It's just the TV show is the shit, man. It's just absolutely awesome. I think, in my opinion, it's surpassed the comic book, and I hope that it stays on and that we get to see a fourth, fifth, sixth season, because this could be, you know, like I said, the greatest TV show ever. At this point, there just aren't enough episodes, but it is still, I think, from what we've seen so far, my favorite. But you know, hopefully it's long enough so that it's really something special over, you know, 5 or 6 seasons. You know, something to watch in 10 or 15, 20 years. If it goes on that long, would be, you know, very, very cool to see. So anyway, yeah, so that's it for me. The Walking Dead TV show, in my opinion, is better than the comic book. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts. Let's start up a discussion. Please let me know what you think. Do you like the Walking Dead TV show, or do you like the comic book better? Later, guys. Peace.